Free Fight Breakdown.
A lot of people today know who Andrew Tate is, but we don't know he is also known as Andrew Cobra King Tate, which was his professional kickboxing nickname. With a professional record of 76 wins and 9 losses, this includes 4 world titles, including ISKA Cruiserweight title and the Infusion 90 kg champion. Love him or hate him, we cannot deny that Andrew Tate can fight. You'd be deluded if you disagreed after watching this video. But how good is Andrew Tate? The reason why this question is relevant today, since Andrew Tate has retired from combat sports in 2020 and made way more money than he did as world champion, why would he be thinking about fighting? Since his popularity has grown, it has caught the eye of a few big-time celebrity YouTubers who feels that they can piggyback off this wave by calling him out in a boxing bout. I'm going to give you my thoughts on Andrew Tate's fighting style and what improvements to make if he comes out of retirement. From first impression on looking at Andrew Tate's fights, he is very tall and rangy. It seems like he towers over most of his opponents. He stands at 6'3" with a reach of 192 centimeters. So he is very tall and long for his division. He seems to have very good control over his range, always keeping his opponent at the end of his kicks and positioning himself just out of range of any attacks coming his way, utilizing his long reach and height advantage. He is also very light on his feet, which is always an advantage to get in and out of range. He does move very linear, which at times can be predictable, but he does make up for with his long range and the ability to fluidly switch stances, combined with a surprisingly durable chin and some well-timed head movements. His head movement is not great like you see in boxing, but it's enough to get himself out of trouble on many occasions from opponents looking to take his head off once they get into range. He keeps his chin dangerously high and doesn't always keep his guard up, which is why I was surprised he hasn't been knocked out more frequently than I thought. But with a kickboxing background, similar to the likes of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in the UFC, who keeps his hands literally below his hips, but makes up for in his evasive footwork. They also share a similar tool set, throwing many lead leg roundhouse kicks off a jab. Andrew Tate looks very chiseled in his prime and has knockout power. I believe he has 23 knockouts on his record, most of which I presume was from his right hand. He has a very high output and surprisingly can generate quite a lot of power in both his legs and left hook, which follows behind his long, tricky left jab. He seems to always smother his opponents with his high output of punches and kicks from awkward angles. This typically frustrates his opponents, and they normally do one of two things when this happens. They charge in recklessly and get countered, or they become too occupied in defending themselves that they do not realize they are being set up. Tate seems to be most vulnerable when his opponents charges up close with a lot of pressure, so much so that it off-balances Tate so he is unable to clinch effectively. He can also get countered when he gets aggressive due to his eagerness to finish. This, coupled with him leaving his chin up and dropping his hands when he's attacking, leaves him susceptible to counterattacks. His clinch game is very basic, which is not unusual as a kickboxer, but he did perform a throw off an over-under in his MMA debut, but wasn't against someone who had much wrestling experience. His ground game is obviously non-existent, but I don't believe he looks to ever step into an octagon. But overall, when I study the way he moves, I see a well thought out way of fighting, which is unique and advantageous to his body type, being long and tall, and his fighting style is high pace, high output, and unorthodox. He moves light on his feet, has a durable chin, with knockout power in his right. With these skill sets coupled in with hard work, I can believe that he became world champion, and not through luck. He has not fought any major league big names, but with a staggering 85 fights to his name, this alone indicates his level of experience. I do not believe he would do so well in bigger organizations with similar rule sets, such as the well-renowned Glory Kickboxing and the newly established One Championship. If he decided to come out of retirement, I would definitely work on his defense, probably keeping that guard up at all times and keeping that chin tucked in, as I've noticed his head snap back once he gets hit. His overall offense back when he was competing looks incredible. I personally wouldn't change that aspect of his game. But he has released a lot of training footages since his retirement, and all the footages I have seen of him sparring seem to be leaning towards a more conventional approach. This is probably because he is most likely to compete in boxing, and you can't be too wild and unconventional in boxing without those long kicks to keep your opponent at bay. Or maybe he's just training for fun and to stay fit. But speaking of fit, his body physique looks notably different than it once was. He looks much smaller and less ripped. That is not unusual since he has been inactive for a little while. One thing I would add to the game is clinch work, even if he is only competing in boxing. I believe all boxers overestimate their ability to clinch and should find a good wrestling coach to show them the fundamentals of clinching. This way they would not tire out so easily or waste unnecessary energy. This will not necessarily get you to win the fight, but this will frustrate your opponent. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts. Would you be interested in seeing Andrew Tate come out of retirement? If he did, who will he fight and what improvements should he make? Peace.